members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Single Muslim Live here on British Muslim TV, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. Once again, I'm Fahima Mohammed here as your relationship and couples coach, really eager to discuss another topic tonight and hoping that you will also be part of this conversation. And you can do so by calling directly to the studio on 01924 231 083. Ask the bill payer's permission as standard network rates do apply. Also, if you want to message us, whether it's through the WhatsApp service, which is free, you can do so on 07585835150. A very, very warm welcome to all of you that are watching across the globe, whether it's on Sky Channel 752, whether it's on Facebook or Twitter. And we are receiving messages on those platforms as well. So please do get yourself writing and I will read them out throughout the show. Today we have a topic which is really, really interesting. I actually am a personal favorite of this subject. I actually studied this and I love the whole idea of emotional intelligence. And we're going to concentrate on the singles that are emotionally intelligent. Now, we are going to talk about this with my guest tonight, who is Naielah Ackbarali. Assalamu alaikum, Naielah.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
How are you tonight?
I'm great, alhamdulillah. I'm so happy to be here.
Yes, I know you're newly here in the UK from the States, and I am so glad that we can connect tonight. It's been a long time coming. I know you're really passionate about the work that you do, and you have, inshallah, lots to tell us about the work that you do, and especially explain the topic itself. Now, could you tell us, especially for the viewers, a little bit about yourself?
So I was raised in America, but I moved to the Middle East and I lived there for almost 17, 18 years. I recently moved to the UK with my husband because my mother-in-law's here and she's getting older, so we want to take care of her. In the meanwhile, I have also been a relationship coach for the past 8 years, alhamdulillah. I've coached couples, coached wives, done premarital coaching, even coached teens. And so, alhamdulillah, this has really given me an opportunity to understand people at a deeper level, and I love it.
Amazing, amazing. That's a lot of work, and that's, traveling around the world, having a sense and an idea of different cultures and backgrounds. And now we're so happy to have you here in the UK with us as well. It's our blessing to have someone like yourself and everyone that's watching here and across the globe as well. We have Naielah with us in the UK, who's actually, able to help more people around relationships. Now, can you explain to me, because a lot of us don't grow up in the Muslim community, understanding what is it like that we need to do to prepare ourselves for marriage? All we know is that we are born, we are raised to study and learn and work. And then the next thing you know, we're looking for a partner. We have absolutely no learning, no experience, no sort of preparation really about what it means to be an individual first and then enter into a partnership. And I think the emotional intelligent part of it is highly crucial. So what is even emotional intelligence? You can explain that to me a little bit, please.
Yeah, so emotional intelligence, there's two aspects to it. One aspect is the part that relates just to you as the individual, and the other aspect is how it relates to other people. So in concerns of when it relates to you, that's basically a person being aware of their strengths and weaknesses, being aware of the emotions that they feel, how to regulate those emotions, how to read them, how to process them, how to deal with them. And when it relates to other people, it's you using your emotional intelligence to understand other people, to connect with them, to interact with them at a deeper level, such that you have the ability to create and maintain successful relationships in your life.
Right. That is very clear to me. However, when you say that, we need to have these components of emotional intelligence, and I know that there's self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Those are the main emotional intelligence sort of characteristics within an individual. Now, how can we attain that? Like, what is the process? Do we need, professional help? Do we need our parents' involvement? Do we need our teachers? Do we develop these skills as we're growing up and we don't even know about it? So how do we actually know that we are, emotionally intelligent, and how can we gain it if we're not sure?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And I think everybody has a certain level of emotional intelligence. Some people, they have more than others, and only because they were able to develop it in their life. So a lot of it goes back to your childhood, how you grew up. Were you encouraged to feel your emotions, express your emotions, interpret your emotions? Or were you put in a situation where you had to push down your emotions? And even if you were in that situation, as an adult, you have the ability to develop your emotional intelligence. Now, how do you do that? It actually goes back to being honest with yourself, asking yourself why you feel the things you feel, and understanding yourself and not making yourself wrong. So, for example, somebody upset you and you're feeling these emotions of anger and frustration, maybe even disappointment. And so you don't deny that. You ask yourself, what about this really upsets me? What am I really feeling underneath this all? Is it hurt? And why does it hurt so much? And when you do that and you keep doing that throughout your life, you develop a self-awareness. And by understanding yourself, you actually begin to understand other people, because people are just hearts like yourself. And so the heart feels, it gets upset, but it feels happiness, and it's able to overcome negative emotions and turn them into positive ones, inshallah.
That's brilliant. I'd like to add to that, actually, because I feel that, yes, individuals are definitely hearts, but we definitely are also our thoughts and our mind. And obviously, I've sort of trained in CBT, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And really, when you understand your thoughts and why you're feeling this, sometimes as normal human beings, we just have these feelings and we just run with it. So Naielah, when you're saying that you're questioning yourself, do you not think that we're talking because we're coaches and we know that we need to question our feelings? But, knowing our clients, knowing that we're dealing with a lot of average people with, having that sort of just emotions, but not having the understanding of human mind and behavior, that they will just go with that emotion. They will say, well, for example, if someone's walking on the street and they waved and, they didn't wave back, automatically like they don't like me, instead of thinking other thoughts. Now, this is all part of CBT. Now, when it comes to you assessing and thinking, how am I going to think in a positive way, or giving benefit of doubt to think, oh, maybe they just didn't see me, or maybe, not that they don't like me, but normally we have this negative way of thinking. And unless you are actually going into a professional, setting, now, a lot of people, unless they are actually feeling that they are detrimental in their life, they don't actually go to see a professional. And that's what coaches are there for, where it's not detrimental. It's not like as if you're broken, but you're trying to understand yourself. And I think that's what people don't seem to understand, that people are successful when they have coaches, when they are not in any detrimental stage, but they're just trying to get to the next stage and achieve that fuller potential. Now, in your experience, how would you get an individual to sort of realize that they cannot process the question that you're saying, let alone give themselves the answers for it? And then, they're stuck. So then what do they do then? And, what would make someone go and speak to a professional? Because you don't want to leave it too late, because over time we are conditioned as adults, and it's a lot harder to break habits than to create habits from a young age. So what's your sort of advice and guidance for people that are feeling and thinking in a particular way, that may be struggling and they cannot process the questions that you've actually asked?
Well, I think the answer is in a lot of what you said. As you're going through life, you're going to feel certain emotions. And it will come to a point where you think to yourself, do I have to continue to live this way? Why is my life like this? And revelation itself in the Quran and in the Sunnah, we are encouraged to be a certain way. And so a person will reach a point where they know they need to make a decision. And there's so much emphasis in revelation about the state of our heart and how Allah is going to look at our heart and how we need to make sure that we give to Him that pure, good heart. And so as Muslims, we should be working on our hearts. And so through that, we will analyze these everyday actions and everyday events that happen to us. And everybody at the end of the day, we want to live a happy life. We want to experience positive emotions. And so I guess the thing here is to say, if you're feeling in that state of being down and you're finding it difficult to do it on your own, get somebody to help you. You don't have to do it on your own. That's why there are coaches, there are counselors. So I think being emotionally intelligent is also recognizing when you need that help and when you need to reach out, inshallah.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's exactly what we need to hear. I think you've really summarized it much more stronger than even what I said, to be honest. And thank you so much for that. That was a great introduction to understanding emotional intelligence. We are going to be going into a short break, but do send your messages. We are here with the amazing Naielah, who is very experienced, and she's also going to answer more questions, but we want to hear your thoughts. How are you feeling? How do you cope with your emotions? Do you actually wait for many weeks, months, and years to actually feel in a particular way? And at the end of the day, this is really important that we understand that when you're even looking for a spouse, it is quite testing on your mind. It's quite, harsh on your heart, especially when you're not finding what you need to find. And this kind of emotional intelligence can actually help you regulate and be more self-aware and actually be in the position where you can actually find someone where you are in a better state. But like I said, we are coming into a break right now and we will be back. Make sure you stay exactly where you are. We'll be talking much more to Naielah with much more questions, much more insights. I hope to join you in a few moments. And inshallah, we'll see you shortly. See you soon. Take care.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Single Muslim Live here on British Muslim TV, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. I'm here with my lovely guest, Naielah, and we are discussing emotional intelligence. Now, Naielah, what does it mean to be emotionally intelligent and single so that you can actually find a potential spouse? Does that actually make you having a higher percentage or a better way of looking for a spouse? Because a lot of us find it very difficult to look for the one. Does emotional intelligence actually help?
Definitely it does, because I think people that are emotionally intelligent, they approach relationships in a more mature way. So when you're looking for a spouse and you're using your emotional intelligence, you know that relationships are not superficial and the meaningful ones are deeper. And so when you go and look for a spouse, you don't rush the process. You actually take your time to get to know the person that you're considering for marriage, and you don't kind of run away with those initial type of feelings that you may feel when you click with someone or you connect with someone. That chemistry that can often happen when you have your first meeting with the person that you're sitting with. Through your emotional intelligence, you realize that there's a lot more behind a marriage. It's a lifelong commitment. And so you want to understand the other person at a meaningful level so that you know if this is the person that you want to get into a long-term marriage with.
I really find that so interesting what you just said. And I think it's so important. What I picked up on is the fact that we always get carried away with the chemistry, the desire, the lust, right? And we think that's it. He or she is for me. That's it. I have found the one. And that's exactly what we all get wrong at the very beginning, because it's so much more than that, right? It's so much deeper levels. So then if you're emotionally intelligent, what you're saying is that even when you have those really intense moments and feelings, which is high at the beginning, the honeymoon stage, even if you're not married, but you're finding and getting to know your potential spouse, everyone tells you everything that is like, you know, trying to even give you these red flags or these, you know, questions to ask. And you're like, no, I've got it. I've had it. I know exactly he's the one, she's the one, that's it. So what you're saying is now for an individual who is highly emotionally intelligent, they will have those feelings, they'll process it, but they will think beyond. Am I correct?
Yeah, definitely. They will think beyond it, and they will want to understand the person for who they are. And so they're going to want to ask questions that really bring out the substance of the person. You know, sometimes when people sit and they have, you know, their interviews or their meetings with the person that they're considering for marriage, sometimes the questions can be just, they stay at a surface level. You know, it's like, oh, okay, you're studying. Oh, okay, you're working. What are your plans for that? It's kind of like people focus on goals and accomplishments, and they don't look at, well, who is this person that's speaking to me? What do they stand for? Where are they really at it in life? And where do they want to go with that? You know, if I'm going to be in a relationship with them, how is it going to be 5, 10, 20, 50 years from now? And so the person who is emotionally intelligent, or anybody that's trying to use their emotional intelligence when they're looking for a spouse, they are going to ask very different questions from someone who is kind of just allowing themselves to go with the flow of that chemistry, that spark that kind of just comes when you're attracted to someone, and you feel nice that you're actually getting along with someone of the opposite gender. Someone who's emotionally intelligent and someone who's using their emotional intelligence, they know that relationships are more than that. It's kind of like, you know, we tell people beauty, you know, we talk about how beauty is more than it's not just what you see on the outside. It's where a person's heart is. That's real beauty. So it's similar to that. It's like, you know, that when it comes to marriage isn't just like halal dating and, you know, you kind of just have this, you know, part of it is that, but it's more than that. It's more than that. And so you're looking for someone who's going to share that with you.
Love it. Really, really interesting points. And I hope that people are watching are actually listening and taking notes, because this is valuable, valuable information, because we get these kind of questions all the time as to how do you know, who's your perfect spouse, and how do you know who's the one? How do you know, it's really a scary journey. So I guess it starts with the individual. And that's where we are getting it wrong, because again, we're also looking so much at the other, as much as that's important, but those, the other will only be surface because you're just surface. So when you are deeper in your meaning and more highly intelligent in your, understanding of yourself and everything around you and your mind and the way it works, then the next stage is you trying to fixate on how the other person is. Now, when you want to gauge the other person's character, what are the things that a highly emotionally intelligent person would look out for? And how could they gauge if that other person, the potential spouse, has any emotional intelligence themselves? What would be some of the questions or some of the kind of like, things, the inklings that they might actually pick up on when they're having a conversation?
Yeah, I think that one thing is that you want to ask questions that really bring out what the person stands for. So it's not just kind of like, okay, you're studying this, you're working in this field. Why? What does that mean to the other person? Why did they go into that field or that study? Why is that important to them? This really brings out what a person stands for. What are their values? Who are they as a core person? And that's what comes out in a marriage. When you're in a marriage with another person, it's their values that shine through. You know, if they're loyal, if they're trustworthy, if they're responsible, if they're someone that goes the extra mile for the other person. And so through asking these types of questions, you get to know who the person really is at a deeper level. And I'll give you some questions that I think people really should ask. People should ask about what are the expectations that that person has for their spouse. So when you're sitting with the other person, you ask them, you know, what's your expectation for your spouse in terms of earning a living, with your family, with being a parent? By asking these type of questions, you're going to see how they think life should be lived. Because when you marry them, you are going to live that life with them. And so that's why it's so important to ask these deeper questions so that you realize what you're actually getting yourself into. You know, sometimes I meet people and I coach people that are already married, and they kind of feel like they regret not asking certain things, not finding out certain things. And it was really kind of like they just jumped into something without considering all the factors that come into play when you're married to another person. So definitely someone who's using their emotional intelligence will take their time and ask these meaningful questions. And also, it's not just asking questions, it's looking at how the person responds to those questions. You know, sometimes you'll get people that they'll brush your question aside, you know, or they'll give you a sarcastic comment. You got to use your emotional intelligence to see, why did they do that? Is that their personality? And that's what's going to come in the marriage. You know, when I talk about something serious, it breeds a sarcastic comment. Do they care about how I feel, what my emotions are? And so by looking at how the person responds, that tells you a lot as well. You know, are they very secretive? So maybe you're asking about, you know, things about their family or about their personal life, and they don't really tell you much. And so you can't really gauge who they are, what type of background they come from. And that should probably, you know, let off alarm bells. So someone who is emotionally intelligent, they are looking out for these things. They're looking out for these things, and they know that it matters.
Wow, you're dropping it tonight. 100% agree. And those questions that you put forward, they are so, so crucial. I love it. I do the same myself. And, you know, telling people that it's nice to know, you know, what date is the wedding and where's the venue and what kind of dress and, you know, all of that is really important. Fair enough. But this is what's going to, you know, keep your relationship at that level of fulfillment. I mean, what you just said is unbelievably so true. You know, those questions is gold. And you understanding that how the other person is answering back, or even if they even know themselves, because sometimes they don't even consider it because they don't know what marriage is. They don't know how they're going to live. They don't know, you know, how the finance is going to be there, or whether or not they're going to be with their parents living under the same roof with you or not, or whether you'd like it or not. These are the questions that are so important. These are such crucial and, you know, really, really, it can be detrimental into a marriage later on, like Naielah has mentioned, where there is regret, thinking that, I wish I asked this because I didn't sign up for this. Well, you didn't sign up for it because you didn't actually ask for it. You didn't actually question it. You didn't actually go into it. So, wow, this conversation is really gold, really, really gold tonight. And thank you so much, Naielah, for even sharing those questions, because I think they are so useful, because you're getting some free coaching. You're getting free coaching tonight from an expert. And you know what? It's really, really good that we're actually having some of these questions that are being put across, because we can use them. That's why we have the show. Something that you can go away and you can be practical straight afterwards, and know that when you're talking to that potential spouse, if you have someone already, you can ask them these questions, and it's going to be useful for yourself and for them and your future. Now, we are coming onto another break shortly. This is going by too quickly for my liking, because I have so much questions, but we do have the next part of the show coming after a short break. Make sure you send in your questions, any queries and comments. We definitely need to take advantage fully tonight, because we have her just for today. Make sure that you stay tuned, stay exactly where you are, and inshallah, we will see you in a few moments. Have a cup of tea and water and be right back. Take care. Salam.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamualaikum and welcome back to Single Muslim Live here on British Muslim TV, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. We are talking about emotional intelligence and how that can help you, especially when you're single looking for a spouse. We definitely gave some really valuable questions for you to ask your potential spouse. Make sure you rewind after the show, take notes, because this is definitely going to be useful for you. As much as we as individuals might have that emotional intelligence, Naielah, do you think it's important to have other people around us involved anyways? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, definitely. Islamically, we are always encouraged to do shura, to ask other people. But I think with marriage, it is particularly more important, because at the end of the day, most people have not been married before. You know, some people are looking for their spouse with their second marriage. They have experience, and so they can kind of work off of that. But a lot of people, it's actually their first time trying to look for a spouse. And it's natural and normal that that chemistry that you may feel with the other person can potentially blind you, and it can make you end up possibly ignoring important factors. The other reason that I think it's important to get someone involved is it's not just anybody, like your friends or the like, because they may not actually have the experience to know how to guide you in this matter. You need to particularly get people involved that understand how marriages work, that have experience with counseling or coaching marriages, so they kind of know what has worked with other people and what hasn't, and they can inform you of potential things that you may not have even thought to think about. So sometimes I think we can do a disservice to singles. You know, sometimes we tell singles, you just need to know what you want and go for that. But it's like, they've never been married before. How do they exactly know what they want? Rather, when you speak to other married people or people that have experience with marriages, they will guide you in a direction of where you can understand better what you should be thinking about when you're looking for a spouse. So for example, you may not think that you have to ask the other person, are you a spender or are you a saver? You may not even want to dig into something like that. That may be too personal for you, but it's going to come out in the marriage, how the other person spends their money, or maybe they don't want to spend their money. They're the type of person that just saves it. And this can cause conflict. And so someone who is helping you along with the process, they're going to encourage you to seek and ask questions that you may not necessarily think about. And I'll tell you something, when I was single and I was looking for my potential, my spouse, the person that was helping me, she actually told me, okay, make a list of things that you definitely want your spouse to have and things that are recommended. And me being in my early 20s, I don't know anything about marriage. I put on the list of things to have. He has to like spicy food because I don't like plain food, and he has to have a beard. Now, that's not really going to get you through a marriage in long term. But as someone who was single and had no experience about marriage, I just thought it was really important to me. And what I realize now after being married for 15 years, alhamdulillah, is that you really need to be asking about how this person handles disappointment, anger, upset. What do they want from you in terms of how they're expecting you to be as a parent to their child, as a daughter-in-law or a son-in-law to their family. These are like the really important things that need to be discussed. And you need to think about too, what exactly you want to be for the other person. It's not just like you're just asking the person questions and finding out about them, but you should also be reflecting about what type of spouse are you going to be? And so by getting someone involved that understands how marriages work, they are going to, inshallah, help you to balance out the way that you're going through this process and hopefully help you to make a really great decision for yourself.
Again, Naielah, wow. I mean, I'm loving the questions and all of the insights that you're giving us tonight. It is so, so important. I mean, what you said, and even the example that you gave of yourself, that is so true. Being young and not having the experience or, a little bit like naive about, how they should look and what kind of food they need to have is like the be all and the end all compared to the actual living in a marriage. That is so true. I'm glad you shared that actually, because I'm laughing because, you hear a lot of young people or even generally, if they're mature and they just don't have the, experience or they've never known anything better and they can even have it second time around, that people sometimes do follow, unfortunately, in the same patterns that, they have the same sort of like relationships that are continuously failing because they're not learning about the real importance and the crucial ideas of how it is that you need to question your partner and understand how to, basically question them so that you can actually live with them. It's not just about being with them, in those lovely moments when you go out and have dinner and going on holidays and thinking about, spending time with each other. It's about real living, everyday living, which can be quite mundane. It could be quite tedious. You're going to be, like you said, understanding how to handle disappointment, how to handle failure, how to, be with each other in sort of negative emotions and how do they deal with that. And that's why you find in the first 6 months or a year, most people think that, wow, this should be amazing, but it's quite difficult if you really don't know how. So being emotionally intelligent will allow you to have a better understanding about this. But do you think like even our parents, right? Unfortunately, with the older generation, they don't even think in these terms. All they think is maybe, for example, if that person has a good bank balance, they have a good job status, that's just going to allow them to look after my daughter properly. And if that wife can understand how to run a household, that's all that needs to be done in order to live. Like, what is lacking in our Muslim community? Why are we not growing enough? And that's why we have so much unfortunate circumstances in relationships, and it's growing and it's rising, even with the technology, even with the advancements, even with us living in the West. Our communities stick in their own, which is amazing. But because they're sticking in their own and not growing intelligently, then we are suffering for it because we're stuck in tradition and culture, which is not serving us. Now, what would be the advice for, our Muslim community, basically, to have this emotional, enlightenment?
Yeah, no, subhanAllah, it's such a big issue. And I think there's a few points here. One is that you're the one that's marrying your spouse, not your parents. So even if your parents think, you got to look for the person with the big bank account, or you have to, look for the girl that's really beautiful and can give me a lot of grandchildren. At the end of the day, you're going to be the one married to that person. You need to make sure every day you're going to be okay waking up next to this person and going to sleep next to this person, because that's really what it's about. The majority of time is going to be between the two of you. And so I think the other thing is we have to return back to what Islam tells us about marriage. It is an ibadah. It is from the Sunnah. And so this is not just any old type of relationship. this is something for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you really want it to be successful, you're going to put as much effort as you can to make it successful for the sake of your creator. And I think this is what's different about the Muslim marriage, the Islamic marriage, rather than just, dating anybody or, just jumping into any type of relationship with anybody. For us as believers, this is worship to our creator. And so I think Muslims, we need to return to that and focus on that, because that's what's going to motivate us to learn more about marriage, how to have a good marriage, how to make sure we choose a good spouse, and how to be a good spouse ourselves, right? Sometimes people focus so much about looking for their other half, and they don't even consider, well, what am I going to be like as a spouse? And that's what I was saying. Part of emotional intelligence is that you know about yourself. You know about your strengths and weaknesses. You know about the type of emotions you have. And the other part, of course, is you know how to deal with that so that you can create and sustain successful relationships, meaningful relationships.
Beautiful. Again, 100% with everything that you're saying. It's absolutely gold right now. It's diamond, information, to be honest. Knowing that our deen is, yes, half your marriage, and people just look at it as in, we just need to go out and just find someone and get married, and that's it, that's half our religion. No, it's about understanding how to live with that person in a particular way. Mm-hmm. And because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that, this life is a test, and believe me, marriage is one of the biggest tests that you are going to have. Being with someone completely new from a different background, or living that you had a different household, different standards and values and core beliefs, you need to unravel all of that before you get married. You need to question all of that when you are single. And you're so right that when you are emotionally intelligent, you as a person will be able to learn how to get into a healthy relationship, not just because you're like, this is what I have to do as for my religion. No, this is what you have to do for your religion, but to serve and worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not just find a spouse and say, that's it, I'm done. That's what we are getting wrong. Right. That's what we're getting wrong. And it's so, so important that you highlighted that. We are going to be going into a break shortly. And I just want to remind the viewers, this is such an amazing conversation tonight. Please do join in and send any of your questions, and please do rewind, take notes. Naielah has shared some really amazing tips and practical ones, and even real questions that you can ask your spouse, real thoughts and real insights that you can question yourself so that you can learn and grow and develop. This is what the show is about. When we're talking about relationships, when we're understanding it from a professional point of view. This is people that have come here, like myself, who are trained, who are professional, who understand human mind and behavior. We don't just deal with clients because of our own experience or just because, we've learned and read a few books and theories. No, we are trained and we are professional, and we are doing this because we understand how it works. So make sure that you take advantage, not just by tuning in, but get your questions in so that we can actually give you some free coaching tonight. So again, we're going to go into our final break. Please stay with us. We have, again, a few more questions to ask Naielah. Make sure you don't miss out, and join us in a few moments where we'll be discussing more about emotional intelligence, being single, being married, and we'll see you shortly. Take care.
With 3 million members searching, SingleMuslim.com proudly sponsors Single Muslim Live.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Single Muslim Live here on British Muslim TV, sponsored by SingleMuslim.com. We're in the final part of the show. I am actually sad to, say that, because I could sit here with another couple of hours and have a session with Naielah for the entire evening, actually. She's just dropping some gems right now. And to be honestly, I can't say enough. You need to rewind this episode and you need to take notes, because, what she's given us is really amazing tips, practical things that you can use, and you can really make a difference to your spouse, potential spouse, or even your existing spouse, your relationship, where you can have these questions for yourself and for them so that you can have a better relationship. Now, we did have a question during the break, which I'm going to read out. Naielah, it says, are women normally more emotionally intelligent than men? If so, how does this affect the marriage? Very, very good question. Thank you so much for sending that through. I love it.
Yeah, I love this question as well. And I will tell you, it actually depends on the way that you were raised. And so when I was in the Middle East and I was living in Syria, I met some really emotionally intelligent brothers. And so in Syrian culture, mashallah, there is a big emphasis on family and learning how to take care of others, give to others. So you start to understand how people operate when you interact so much with other people. So I found that in that society, there was actually just a natural emotional intelligence amongst a lot of the men. And maybe in other cultures, it may not necessarily be that way. And I would even say that as a coach, I have found that even the brothers that I've dealt with in like my couples coaching or the like, I've been very impressed at least with their ability to want to understand how their wives feel and have a willingness to explore their own emotions. But I will tell you that I think we can see in the societies that we do live in, overall, men are discouraged from understanding their emotions, processing their emotions. And unfortunately, it can lead to them just experiencing intense emotions, but not knowing how to deal with it. But that is not necessarily something that has to harm the relationship. So what I like to tell people is whoever has the strength, use it. Help your spouse. So sometimes it's the woman. She may have that ability to understand emotionally what's going on. She can read people really easily. She has that intuition. And once the husband can really see that in her and appreciate that in her and give her that recognition for it, he will benefit. And as they go along in the marriage, he can actually learn from this as well. But it may be that the husband actually has that. I've met people where the man was very emotionally intelligent and he benefited the wife because he was just someone that is considerate and was raised in a big family, and so was aware of women's emotions and people's emotions and wanted to make sure that everything was taken care of in the relationship from that aspect. So yes, women are generally more emotional, I would say. They're generally more emotional. And if they process their emotions properly and know how to deal with them, they become emotionally intelligent. But that doesn't mean there aren't men that are like that out there. And it doesn't mean that a man cannot become that way if his wife helps him. And a lot of times they're very appreciative because they may be feeling emotions, like heavy emotions. And they just, for a lot of guys, it's like, I feel angry. I feel frustrated. It's like, no, let's go further. There's something underneath that more. And I've actually had a husband in a session that I recently did. He actually came to the point where he was able to tell his wife he was hurt. Wow. And you generally don't get guys to kind of just say that. And I asked her, I said, have you ever heard him say this before? She said, no, it was the first time. And they had been married for quite some time.
I think that was a brilliant question, actually, because it opened up a different conversation. And I love that. So thank you for sending that through. And it just goes to show with the cultures and the backgrounds and the upbringing really makes a difference. And even though we try to distinguish between, gender, whether someone's more intellectual or intelligent or understanding or communicative, whatever it may be, I actually do agree with you in the sense that it does depend on how that person is. But on the other hand, I actually feel that it's not just about, like you said, actually, the point of women being more emotionally intelligent. I think they have more emotions, and sometimes they don't know how to. And I think what you said is so important about the support, that just because you have it doesn't mean that you can't support somebody else to do it. But I don't think a lot of women who may even have the emotional intelligence know that they have to support the other person, but probably be frustrated that they're not getting it back. So that's the other angle of it as well. You might have the emotional intelligence and you might have the awareness, the motivation, and you can do it for yourself, but you get frustrated or you can't communicate that, you know what, this is what's lacking or this is what needs to be done. And there's also an expectation that the other person should just read. A lot of men feel that they don't actually know what the woman's thinking and feeling because there's a lack of communication, even if they have the awareness. So it has to be both sides. I really see it as well when I'm, coaching couples and clients generally, and I see that a lot. And, women might complain about certain things that are lacking in men, but I don't see that as a lack. I just see that as them not being a team player. You need to be a team player. And like Naielah mentioned, if one has the strength, then the other one has to be more of a supporter. But what we want to do is highlight what is wrong and put that person down and complain about it. And then that's the reason for some of the breakdowns, unfortunately, when actually most couples, in majority of cases, unless it's extreme, they can be worked at. And that's my theory. What's your thoughts on that, Naielah?
Yeah, definitely. And you're going to get frustrated. If you're the one that's more emotional or emotionally intelligent, you're going to pick up on things. That's why I was saying when you're single and you're using your emotional intelligence, you should be able to pick up on certain things when you sit with the person. Now, when you're a spouse and you're living with someone 24/7, things are going to come out and you're going to notice things that maybe you wish you didn't notice. Maybe put things together that you wish you didn't have to put together. But that doesn't mean you have to trash the relationship or trash the other person. Rather, the intelligent one, the one that really is emotionally intelligent, is going to want to help their spouse. And they're going to want to put the marriage first. They're going to want to put the marriage first and realize, you know what? I see in this person that they don't know how to process their emotions, but they're a heart just like me. And I need to help them to bring it out. And so I need to understand them and connect with them and help them. And that actually is what makes the relationship so good. It does take work, but it's worth it because you develop something so much more than when you just get upset at each other and you just kind of, walk out the door and you don't want to have to deal with it. Deal with it. You will have gems in your relationship because your spouse will be appreciative. It's
Absolutely.
like just because someone doesn't know how to express their emotion, it doesn't mean they don't feel that emotion. There's something going on. They don't know how to put the words to it. Help them put the words to it, and you will see how much more love will increase in your marriage, inshallah.
That's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And remember, don't get confused with being highly emotional to highly emotionally intelligent. There is a huge difference there as well, because women can be very emotional. Yeah, women are very emotional, right? And men can be quite logical. And you know what? We both need a bit of both to a certain extent. We can take off each other. And we need to be, again, like I said, team players. You know what? We're coming towards the end of the show. We've got about 3 minutes left. And I want to leave that space for you to have some final thoughts and words, Naielah, and also to share some of your personal details if anybody wants to get in contact with you so that they can have some further one-to-one, coaching or sessions with yourself. So please take it away.
So I guess the last thing that I would just like to say is that everybody has ups and downs in their lives. Everybody has ups and downs in their marriages. This doesn't define you. What really defines you is where you are in your relationship with Allah. So you need to seek strength through that and do whatever it takes to make your life good through your relationship with your creator. So if you'd like to know more about how to do this and to kind of follow up with this type of thinking, you can reach me at my website, Muslima Coaching. And I do love to connect with people. So please email me. There's a contact section there. Like I said, we do couples, premarital, wife coaching, single coaching, and even we do offer teen coaching. So I hope that the viewers were able to benefit, and I would love to hear their feedback, inshallah.
Wow, amazing. Absolutely beautiful. I mean, to be honest, I don't even want to end this show. I still have so many questions, but we have come to an end. But you know what? You've actually shared so many gems, like I said, and this, episode is extremely valuable. I want to thank you personally, and also from all of us here at British Muslim TV. We've had an amazing episode. It's so important that we do actually understand that, our relationships are important in order for us to grow as individuals and develop and actually keep our Muslim community strong and healthy. The household is very, very important. And that's why we talk about relationships every week from different perspectives and different angles, because in order to build our community, we need to build strong households. And inshallah, each household can only learn from, people that are coming on to speak every week. And I just want to say thank you so much for everyone that has been messaging and watching from around the globe or wherever platforms you're streaming from. Thank you so much to my guest, Naielah, tonight. Please do stay in touch and make sure if anyone wants to reach her, make sure you do so, and do leave your feedback, leave your messages, leave your comments. I always do make sure that I take into consideration exactly what you are asking, what you want. So the show is tailored and catered and serves you. And inshallah, we will be back with another episode and topic next Thursday. Please send in any of your suggestions. I'm happy to take on board what you think and feel so that we can address it on another episode and topic. But make sure that you stay tuned with us next week. Same time, same place. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and have an amazing evening. Have a lovely night, and we'll see you next week.